for right now. So it's going to sound like that on both, on Facebook and YouTube. Oh, God. All right, well, whatever. Well, hey, let's get on our war faces and let's go live on YouTube. Let me just check the audio here. That's 100% my fault. Okay. It's good. It's good enough. It's good enough for the purposes of what we need. So, so welcome everybody. Today we're going to be talking about enhancing your breath and actually how to get some tools that can help you train your own breath so you get stronger lungs, increase your VO2 max. We're going to talk about a lot of these things today in this video. My apologies if my audio sounds a little harsh. I was messing around with my audio settings and it seems to have done something. But that shouldn't stop us from maybe taking a nice breath in and out. And what we're going to do right now is the famous simultaneous squeeze. It's the dopamine hit of the day. It's the thing that makes everything better. So what it is going to be a big breath in, a hold at the top, a squeeze, and then a long hold for 5 seconds, and then a long exhale with an ah like that. It's going to feel so good. Best part of your day. All right, so here we go. Ready? In 3, 2, 1, breathe in. Hold it. Sip it. Squeeze it. And exhale slowly. Just like that. Maybe you got a little bit of change in the temperature of your body. Maybe you got like a nice cooling sensation, a little bit of a head rush, maybe like a kind of a grounded feeling. Getting rid of those pressures from the day, kind of using this as a conduit to take whatever happened today and just kind of filter it down. Asking yourself, you know, how many systems did I show up for today? Did I show up for some systems? Did I check the box? Did I celebrate that I showed up for some of my yellow systems today? And if you did, that's awesome, because I know that you'll make progress in those areas of your life in the systems that you showed up for. So that's huge. What we're going to be covering today is going to be kind of a dual purpose. So breath training covers about 3 potential different categories of improvement, 3 different life categories. All personal, obviously. The first place that our video covers is going to be in your health. So breathing is good for your health. Second area is that breathing is good for your body. So from a physical vitality body perspective, just if you're thinking about your body as this rock star body, this Greek goddess body, this Greek god body of yours, breathing and having strong lungs absolutely contributes to that category of improvement as well. And thirdly, better breathing can give you better emotional regulation as well. So truly, breathing cuts across so many parts of your life that I think that alone should be something to take note of, right? That's why it's so baller, so beneficial. For today, primarily where we're going to look at is just breathing strictly from a health perspective, but don't let that fool you. Breathing can cross many different categories of your life, to body, to mind, to emotions, to relationships, to sex. I mean, it goes way out there too. So breathing can be really, really beneficial. So I hope this video meets your expectations of quality, of education, of information, and of fun, of course. We're going to be doing some breathing stuff together, but primarily we're going to be kind of showing off what could a good set of tools at home look like that could help induce you to use your breath better. And there are a couple things that we can do, and we're going to cover that today. If you were able to catch our video yesterday, that's awesome. That will have prepared you a little bit more to understand, like, how do you think about breath? How can you feel good about breath if breath isn't a place that you're very comfortable with yet? And just, the Cliff Notes version of what we talked about yesterday, just really shortly, is generally speaking, is that breath doesn't ever have to be something that you're perfect at. Doesn't have to be something that you're really, really good at. Really what breath is about is a place in your health where you show up for it from a systems perspective to say, like, I'm going to increase my oxygen resilience today. And if you show up for that, that could be as simple as what we did at the beginning of this video, which is the simultaneous squeeze, which is just a quick breath in. We just do it again. Like just let's do a complementary simultaneous squeeze. It's the dopamine hit of the day. It's the thing that makes everything better. It's the most incredible part of your entire day, which is we're going to take a deep breath in, and we're going to do this. I'll just explain it in a second. Deep breath in, fill your lungs up as much as they can go. And then even when you're at the top of your lung capacity, you can still sip in a little bit more. It's an Andrew Huberman concept. It's not like he invented it, but he brings it up a lot. You'll sip in extra air, another on top of what you think is the max. Then what you're going to do is you're going to hold your breath, and then you're going to start to squeeze in your core with your diaphragm. And part of today, what we're going to be talking about is how do you strengthen your diaphragm actually? Like how do you make your diaphragm stronger? And that's what we're going to train today. But you're going to breathe in fully, hold it, squeeze it for 5 seconds, and then you're going to slowly exhale through your mouth. Just like that. And you can also make a sound if you would like. That is a bonus, but it's not required. So at the very minimum, from a breath perspective, as long as you show up for just that one type of breathing once in the day, you have checked the box on multiple categories in your life. One being your health, because we know breathing is really good for your health, for your oxygen, for everything. Really good for your body. Enables you to run better, stay awake longer, have more focus, more mental focus, more emotional resilience. So just that breathing practice that we do at the beginning of the video, the simultaneous squeeze, literally covers across many different categories of your life. So I'd say that's a big win right there. So let's do it. So let's do the breathing. So let's do the simultaneous squeeze, a complimentary one for those who might have come in a little bit late. So breathe in, sip at the top, hold it, squeeze for 5 seconds. And then exhale. And it could feel really good for you right now. If you did do that properly, you might be like, don't let the police come see me because they might arrest me for feeling so dang high right now. That's actually kind of how it can feel. If you do that just right, it can feel pretty like, ooh, wow, that felt really interesting. And it's a very kind of it comes on rather quickly, so you don't have to hold your breath for a very long time to get that. 5 seconds is more than enough. I started to feel that feeling. It's hard to describe, but it's a kind of a getting high feeling for sure, just from breathing. Can you imagine? It's certainly releasing a bunch of dopamine into your body, which is great. It's really good for you. And then a lot of acetylcholine, which helps calm your body down. So that's an example of, so if you did that, then in your mind, I want you to see this big yellow box, like a big yellow box. We call these yellow boxes systems. So in your brain, just think, okay, there's a big yellow box and it says an S, and then next to it, it says increase my breathing capacity and resilience. That's the name of the system. The purpose statement being because breathing and breath and my diaphragm are important for almost every core category of my body and my health and my mind and my emotions and my spirit. And then you go, and then you say underneath that, well, I did the simultaneous squeeze, and you may have done something else today too. You may have done yoga or meditation or breathing or anything else. Maybe you have one of the devices that we're going to show off today, one of these. Maybe you did that too. You'd go, great. I know for a fact that I showed up for that yellow system, that yellow box, and you click that check box next to it that says celebrate. And it's going to go boom, flashing lights, and you go, cool, I did it. And then it's going to recur. It's going to be a recurring system. And just I want you to imagine that it shows up on your calendar again tomorrow. So that tomorrow, when you come to the simultaneous squeeze tomorrow, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here with me again, is that if you don't do any other breathing that whole day, if you can just be here on the video tomorrow and just be here when we start and do the simultaneous squeeze, then, or even if you watch the replay, then you're going to be fine. And you're going to go, great, celebrate. I just checked the box for that system. And then it's going to recur again the next day and the next day and the next day. So anyway, that's the summary of generally what we talked about yesterday, of how to think about how does breathing kind of fit into your daily schedule and routine. And then today we're talking about what are some tools or software that can help you actually get better personalized coaching or guidance on this. And then there are actually some tools that kind of are required a little bit if you really want to focus on strengthening the muscles of breath, which is your diaphragm, which sits under your lungs. And it's a big muscle. So, you know, if somebody says, I want to get stronger, I want to get better muscles, certainly I would say, well, you know, try stretching or try walking. Are those good things to encourage people to do? Of course. But if someone really wants to get strong, if they really, really factually want to get strong, I'd say you at least have to go get like a 2-pound weight or a 3-pound weight or a 5-pound or a 10-pound weight and start lifting that weight up. So your muscles only like to grow against resistance, and your breath is no different. So we want to have something that can restrict our breathing in and out to strengthen the diaphragm muscle under our lungs. That's the muscle that helps us breathe. And if you were here about 2 weeks ago, I did a groundbreaking video talking about a recently published study. It literally had published a few days prior to that, showing that COVID, for instance, people who had caught COVID and had lingering effects from it, like, you know, kind of persistent COVID symptoms, is that their diaphragm, instead of having nice curvature underneath the lungs, became completely flat, which is not good. And the only way you can retrain that, you have to do rehabilitation, and that requires tangible breathing practice with devices called respirometers. These are things that you breathe into like a tube and you go, and it's got those little balls that fly up in the air, and you can carefully calculate how much breathing you're doing. Now, I'm not going to recommend any of those types of tools because this isn't going to be a rehabilitation type of video. This is going to be getting you set up with tools that are very professional, things that you would see in a, you know, that you could see in a rehabilitation lab, but also in a professional athletic person's toolkit. So I'm going to give you some resources for that, mostly. And they will work because they're all adjustable to be good for people who have limited lung function, but also anticipate that what could it look like? What could my life look like if my lung capacity was up, 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 and my VO2 max was up, up, up as well? So we're going to talk about that. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about how do you create the systems on your calendar, make it recurring. How can you create kind of like, you know, we're thinking about a campaign here, a 3-day part 3. This will be the first part 3 video I've done so far in this nighttime series on the vagus nerve. So yeah, we'll cover that tomorrow. We'll look at more like how could you take what you learned here and not just let it be like oh, okay, well, that was nice, I'll never do that. And then how could you turn that into something that you consistently do day after day after day for the rest of your life? Because if you do breathing the rest of your life, you're in a lot better shape than if you didn't. So, all right, so that's the recap on what we did, what we're going to do, and what we're going to do tomorrow. So what I want to start off with is the document that goes with today's video. And I'm going to drop that in the chat. So as I like to do, I always like to kind of, for some videos like this, I always like to kind of have a, like kind of a document that I can put in the chat that y'all can go and read and see. For folks who are on YouTube, that's already going to be in your chat. And I'm going to paste that as well here on Facebook. Boom. There we go. Good. Okay, cool. So if you can see that document, click the like button on that, and that should open up. You should be able to see the picture of the woman breathing. I selected that photo particularly. Good. So you guys can see that. That's awesome. Good. So as soon as this video is ending, at the very tail end of this video, I'm going to want you to click on that and open that before the video ends, and open that up and email it to yourself, copy it, text it to yourself, send it to yourself as a message on Facebook Messenger. Whatever you need to do to keep that link in your possession, I want you to do that. But not right now, because I'm going to explain what's in that document so you have kind of a better overview of what you're going to look at. So in that document, there is going to be it's kind of a 3-part document. The first document is going to talk about software. So there are some simple, free, super easy to download iPhone, Android compatible applications that you can get on your phone anytime that have preloaded breath cycle trainers. The first one that we're going to share there is called Breath Work, and it's spelled kind of funny, like BRTHWRK. Like it's kind of the modern Gen Z form of how do we shorten this to basically mean nothing. So anyways, I'm not going to apologize because I'm not Gen Z. That's just what they are up to these days. But it's called Breath Work, and that's a software that it's pretty ingenious. All you need to do is select a the feeling that you want to have post the breath, and it will load from a scientific library what the best breathing pattern would be for you to feel that emotion. So let's say you wanted to feel, I want to feel relaxed. It's probably gonna do a 4 breaths in, 6 breaths out. If you want to feel energized, it'll probably do like 4 in, 4 out, or maybe it'll be like 5 in, 4 out. So a little bit different, but it's going to be selected based on a library of how you want to feel. If you want to feel more focused, it'll have a 4 by 4 by 4 by 4, which is box breathing. It's kind of an equalized breathing pattern. If you want one for sleep, it'll give you a sleep breathing practice. So that app is great. No complaints. I've used it before. I think it's fantastic. From a strictly breathing perspective, this isn't an app it doesn't do HRV. It's not a meditation app. It's just a breathing app. It just shows you on screen what you should do for breathing, and it's going to give you the opportunity to check in. Now, warning here, I understand that, putting a bunch of apps on your phone can become overwhelming. I'm sure I'm not the only person recommending an app. Now, this isn't an app that I sell or make any money off or anything like that, so there's no paid promotion for this app. If you get it or not, that's up to you. But just know that the software is going to be one piece of the puzzle. The second part of the document is going to include links to physical hardware. And so I actually have one here by my side. So yeah, as far as software is concerned, there's really only one software only tool that I'm going to recommend in the document. In the all-in-one solution, there is a device that has software and hardware built into it together. And so we'll talk about that in a second. But first, what we want to talk about is just the hardware of breath training. So remember I talked about the diaphragm, and I talked about if you want to tangibly improve muscle strength, you must have something that you're resisting. Just like when it comes to your neck, right? We talk about the neck a lot here, which is a lot of people go to get their neck massaged because they have like neck pain or neck issues, right? Raise your hand. You're like, yep, got neck pain. Or maybe you're like, actually, yeah, I followed Sterling's advice on the neck stuff and I don't have pain anymore. So what we do with neck strengthening, so I won't go off into a big tangent, but when it comes to the neck, my main criteria for helping people with neck pain or strain or even pinching of their vagus nerve because of their neck, which is very possible, very common, is rather than just saying, okay, well, move your head like this and move your head like this, I say put something that's resistive in between your head and the wall, like a inflatable bouncy ball, or a dodgeball or a volleyball. Take something there, push it against the wall, and push your head into it, and you'll see these muscles start to get bigger and activate and enlarge in your neck. And the more that you do resistance, the more that those muscles start to build strength and grow. And you start to see people who typically had like hunched posture just by doing the red ball neck strengthening routine that we teach all the time. We'll certainly get back to it here in the near future. So don't you worry. Is that their neck gets stronger the pain goes away, their posture gets better. And it's because we're applying the neck against a resistive force. Very important. It's against resistance, not just moving your head in free-flowing air or getting a massage or getting chiropractic care, any of that kind of stuff. That's not enough if you really want to have a good neck. So when it comes to your diaphragm, we want to have something that's also the same concept. Just breathing in and out of your mouth does not give you enough resistance to actually tangibly improve your diaphragm strength. And I think you guys know that already. Just like when people go, oh, duh, I've been trying this stuff with my neck for so long and I never considered strengthening it. But once they try it, they go, oh my God, why wasn't I doing that for years? You're going to find that it's the exact same thing with your diaphragm. And I hadn't gotten one of these until probably 2021. So I had never done diaphragmatic strengthening because where I grew up in Oregon was up in the mountains. So when we're up in the mountains, there's less air in general. So I had to do physical training, track and field, football, soccer, basketball. I was a very athletic kid growing up. So I was doing tons of sports. And at that high altitude, your lungs are just really pushing up against limited air. There's not enough oxygen in the air. So you have to really pump. Your lungs become very big. All my friends in that class, in that school, in that district in Oregon, we all have very large lungs, large chests as well, large shoulders, because of the forces that we had to go under in training in the mountain, which is pretty cool. There's a book about that actually, which I really like. It's how they train children in the mountains to make them more athletic. That's like an intentional thing. But anyway, so the same thing applies to your breath and your diaphragm. So if we're good on that, then let's look at the hardware. So what you'll find in the hardware section of this document are two devices. One is the premium and one is the cost-effective version. Both are pretty much exactly the same. So I'm going to demonstrate it right here. So the one that I have is the more premium version. And it is what it is. This is actually the one that was available at the time. And I just thought it looked nicer because it's got a lower profile. And it's kind of just something you can discreetly use at a gym or riding a bike or whatever. It doesn't look too weird, but you won't be doing this outside. So how this works is on the left-hand side, there's a dial that rotates here. On the left-hand side, it says in, and on the right-hand side, it says out. And the dials move back and forth from each direction. On the left-hand side, it's labeled A, B, C, all the way to F. And on the right-hand side, it's labeled from 1 to 6. That means there's 6 levels of resistance on the left, from really easy to breathe in and really easy to breathe out at A1 to the hardest would be F6. So F and 6 are lined up here. That means that the holes to breathe in are really tiny and the holes to breathe out are also really tiny. And so I'll show you like what that looks like. We go, I want to get some of the saliva out of my mouth here. With it, I'll just show you. Great. Certainly, please don't take a screenshot of me doing any of this breathing. It does not look great. I can tell you that. But I will make the sacrifice for my own beauty to look however I need to look to demonstrate what you need to see. So I hope you can appreciate that I'm making a sacrifice, that none of these faces look all too, wow, that's the most beautiful glamour shot I've ever seen of someone. Like, I don't want these pictures cut up and put on the internet. So please don't do that if you're not an evil person. So anyway, yes, your face can get red. It's already very hot outside. I'm already probably sunburnt from all the sun I've gotten today. So it is what it is. But so you can see that in breathing in and trying to breathe out, there's a lot of resistance. But what was happening was that my diaphragm was trying to force down, like trying to pull my lungs down against no air coming in, almost no air. And it's really forcing that muscle to really get stronger and activate. And there's a nerve in your brain. There's a phrenic nerve that runs down your brainstem next to your vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve and your phrenic nerve both go down to your diaphragm. So by doing this, in a sense, this breathing apparatus does allow me to get a little bit extra vagus specific stimulation in that session. Mostly I'm training the muscle, but because the vagus nerve is involved in breathing, I'm also definitely stimulating my vagus nerve. So if there's any chance that you could be like, oh, cool, well, that sounds like a pretty bonusy kind of thing, then, let that be a big bonus for you as well, potentially. So I'm going to switch so that was on F6, the hardest in and hardest out to breathe in and out. I'm going to switch it to A1, which is super easy. You can kind of see this here. A1, A in, 6 out, or 1 out, whatever. So now what I'm going to do is you'll hear how much easier this one is. Here we go. Just like that, okay? Really easy. Almost, there's some resistance, which is good. We don't want to, if you don't want any resistance, just take it out of your mouth and start breathing. But this is fantastic. So this particular tool will strengthen your diaphragm and strengthen your breathing apparatus. Now, how you want to think about a tool like this is that having this near your Peloton, your bicycle, your elliptical machine, having it in your bag that you take to the gym, having it anytime you do maybe walking, rucking, where you want to do combinations of something that gets your heart rate up and something that allows you to train your breath, or just doing it by itself as its own independent session. Or also, you could, if you combined what we talked about the other week about HRV, you could do HRV training, breathing in and out, while having this in your mouth at maybe not an F and a 6, but maybe like a B and a 3. A B3 will give you some resistance so you can breathe with the HRV and get some resistance to your lungs. So combining HRV and breath training in this way could be a really smart idea. So that's the AeroFit. Now this one is close to, I think, about $129 on Amazon. There's another one on there though. Before you click, you're like, oh my God. There's one for $26 that, if you look at it, basically has identical features to this. It's really the same internals. It's got, I believe, 6 different selectable intake and 6 selectable outtake settings on this one device. It's not as cool looking, I'll admit, but it's a lot cooler than some of the other garbage on Amazon, which there's a device called the Breather Fit, something like that, the Breath Fit, and it's like a blue thing. This thing looks like a crack pipe, I kid you not. It looks like it's a long ass thing with a circle on the end, and I bought one before to test it. Before, when I was doing a video about this 2 years ago, I did a video like this for my clients, and I tried it. It doesn't have any nice rubber here for you to put it in your mouth. It's all hard plastic. You can't breathe in or out really well with it. I just thought it was just garbage. So if you see a device that's a long plastic thing with a big round ball on the end and little dials on the side, yes, it's the same concept as what we're doing here, but it's so not good from a user perspective. So please steer as clear of that as you possibly can, okay? But yeah, the other one in that document is a tan colored or a blue color or a green color, I think, of this type of device. I think not the same exact quality and certainly a lot bigger, but a good device nonetheless. Now, how you should think of this is, you're like, well, if I buy it, then will it just be kind of sitting around? I don't know. The thing is, if you have a physical device and you keep it visibly within your domain, if you take devices and you wrap them up and throw them into a container somewhere, they're not going to be very useful for you, right? But if you keep it out, I keep this out and about and visible to me, then I see it and I go, oh, great, I should use that today. Or I have software on my computer. I use it. We'll talk about this more tomorrow. How do you get your calendar to remind you not that you just have an appointment with the doctor, but that you could do some specific health training that day? So we'll talk about how to do that. But honestly, first and foremost, if we're talking about strengthening your diaphragm, you just cannot do this without a physical piece of hardware. Really, you just can't really get the benefit without a piece of technology, without a piece of this. This is as simple as it gets, really. So anyway, there's another device just like that that's a lot cheaper. Depending on your budget, make the call. I like this one. I like the AeroFit. The other one looks great. Okay, the other one that's in the document looks great. Now, lastly, in the document, there's a final section, which is usually this is pretty typical of health and wellness devices, that there's always a software-only version of breathing or meditation or HRV. There's a software-only version. There's a hardware-only version. And then there's a all-in-one. These come at a more premium price, of course, but they cover a lot of things together. So there's a premium version of all what we're talking about that combines breathing, training through software, and the hardware that has a respirometer built into it that connects with Bluetooth to your phone. And that one is actually the higher end version of the AeroFit. So the AeroFit makes a red device called the AeroFit 2.0 Pro. And on this little piece right here in the front, see if I can take this off. I can hear a lot of fireworks going off right now. But in the AeroFit Pro, this comes off, this front piece comes off, and in this piece, there's a Bluetooth respirometer that measures exactly the rate of breathing and the intensity and the force upon which you're able to breathe out. So if you do need something that's more professional, AeroFit makes a much higher end version, and I believe the one that they have out now is called like the Tour de France version, which bicyclists use a lot to train their lung strength. So for me, guys, me personally, I believe that health is more important than most other things in life. If your health goes to shit, nothing else really matters. Your relationships don't matter. Your work doesn't matter. So I invest in things that keep me physically as healthy as possible. Nobody wants to make it to the age of 60 and go, wow, I really haven't done any of this health stuff that I've been reading about. You do not want to be in that situation. So I would encourage you, divvy up some amount of money that you can invest into something out of this list. Likely the physical breather that you can have, because again, the biggest pathology that makes COVID so damaging to people is the damage that it does to the diaphragm, because that COVID actually infects the phrenic nerve and the vagus nerve, causing the diaphragm to flatten. And there's no other way to get back from that other than strengthening those muscles themselves. And also, if you know about the neck, also COVID gives people cervical instability too. So that's why there's no ifs and buts around it. There's no detox, there's no binders, there's no anything that you can take that's going to remove that from your body. And even if you did, it's still going to leave behind it the damage done to the muscles, the damage done to your neurology. And there's no way to strengthen that other than resistance-based exercise. So consider this is as important for your diaphragm, which is literally what you use to breathe all the time, So I think it's pretty important that this muscle is critical for your life-giving ability. So I would highly recommend it. I would highly recommend that you do something in this category to get some device that can strengthen your diaphragm. You really, really don't want to be in that situation on a respirator where your lungs are failing you. I mean, that is bad news. And, I have a friend, he's like he's like a big guy into like fitness and stuff. He talks a big game, and I think he can back it up. But he lives a danger. Let's just say this: I have a friend who lives a pretty dangerous life in politics, and he said that the reason that he lifts, the reason that he hits the gym, and the reason that the powers that be don't want you to be strong, is because the more muscles you have, the stronger you are, generally speaking, the harder you are to kill. It's true. The more muscles you have, the stronger your heart is, the stronger your lungs are, the harder you are to take out. Just a fact. And it's not like I'm saying every one of you watching is like some political hit target or anything like that, but harder to kill means, oops, somebody ran into you in their car while you were in the parking lot. You're either going to be really difficult to kill or you're going to be really easy to kill. That's just how I look at it. And doing things like strengthening your neck, sure, if you get less neck pain from that, hallelujah. I know like Charlene, like she's a raving fan for neck strengthening. It's given her new lease on life. And I hope that that's the only, I legitimately hope that out of all the remaining years she has, which is very many, she'll live to a very, very long time. Maybe forever. Who knows? Maybe we'll solve aging and Charlene will live for an infinite amount of time. I hope to God that the only thing she goes, oh my God, Sterling, I'm so glad I started strengthening my neck like you told me because my neck feels great. I hope that's the only thing that she ever has to say to me, not, oh my God, Sterling, I'm so glad I strengthened my neck because I got rear-ended while walking down the street and the force threw me 10 feet away from the car, and if my neck was any weaker, I would have twisted my head and broken my neck and gotten paralyzed from the neck down. Right? I hope that never happens. But that kind of stuff happens all the time. And I know that the people that I want on my side, the people that I want in my camp, I want the people who are getting the Red Bull, strengthening their diaphragms. I want people in my circle who are really fucking hard to kill. You get me? I want these people to be very fucking tough, built tough, if you catch my drift. Amen. Hallelujah. Yes, Charlene, absolutely. She is here. That's awesome. Good. So yeah, you catch my drift. But your diaphragm is that last little thing that is close to your autonomic system and your nomic system that allows you to consciously breathe, to keep your ass alive in the worst case event that you're on life support and you're breathing for dear life. Honestly, just like I say for the neck, just as I literally think that your neck strengthening is what's going to make the difference between you getting into a serious trip and fall and literally getting up and dusting yourself up. Like Beth. Beth is a client of ours who was in phase 1, and then she signed up for phase 2, and she started doing neck strengthening for years. She's been around with us for years now. Happy, satisfied, raving fan client. Actually, I wouldn't even call her satisfied. I'd say she's a raving fan. She's like, this has been so good for me. She's on less thyroid medicine now. I mean, it's done a lot for her to do VNS. But vagus nerve stimulation isn't just the only thing we do. It's neck strengthening. And she had a trip and a fall outside the school. She caught a piece of the sidewalk and it was just, holding books and this kind of stuff. And she did fall, but she was able to support her head and her face didn't slam right into the ground. She was able to just kind of roll her body on the ground and get a little bit of dirt on her cheek. That was it. Nothing bad. But had she had a weaker head, had she had a weaker neck, and she wasn't doing any of that stuff, her face would have bashed into the concrete, and she would have had really big issues. So again, I can't say for sure that strengthening your neck is going to make you live forever, but I can certainly say that having a strong musculature around your neck is protective against some pretty bad stuff that can happen. As a creature that needs to walk, your neck is going to be pretty important. And also as a creature that needs to breathe, that needs to use its diaphragm, having a tool like this to occasionally, you don't have to do this every day, but having the ability to, again, I don't use my iron neck every single day. I use my iron neck like once or twice a week, probably once during a Wednesday and once on a Saturday. That's it. That's it. I don't need it more than that. That's enough for me. You can see my neck is pretty darn strong. See that? That's from 2 days a week of neck strengthening. Imagine if you could see my diaphragm, although it'd be very, bloody and stuff like that. My, diaphragm, it's in my body. How am I going to show you that? But with something like this, you can see, okay, am I able to breathe in on a B3? B3. Let's see. Yep. Really easy to do. But for some of you watching, I mean, honestly, I'm not even, some of you uninitiated, people who aren't in a program or anything like that, I wouldn't even be certain if you could breathe in an A1 on something like this. Although it's very easy. I'm just saying, Now, A1, any of you could do. Any of you could do it. But you start getting up to the B's and the C's and the F's and the D's and the 5s and the 6s on this one, your diaphragm is going to be pushed and you're going to be strengthening it. And you got to strengthen your body. Strengthening your body is not an option anymore. It's not something that you can just say, well, I don't have time for it. I don't like to do that. You don't get the opportunity to do that anymore. There are people dropping like flies today because they just forwent. They're just like, I don't want to walk. I don't want to exercise. I want to be sedentary and none of this stuff matters to me. And then, they're leaving their families behind. Don't do that. Don't be that kind of person. Do something. Out of anything in this document, again, please take some action on any of these options. Seriously, there are some great products on Amazon too that are cheap. The one that's in there that's like $26 is basically this, but a little bit bigger. This is a great tool. This is a little bit expensive, but this is $129, so it's $130 for this. And that's about what I paid for it when I bought it, right? And I loved it. It lasted me for years, and this thing's built. This is going to last for many, many years as long as you take care of it. But yeah, the one in there on Amazon is just as good as this, I'm certain, and has the same mouthpiece. You'll see it in the link. It's the first thing under hardware, and it's $26. It's $26.99, I think, or $26.90. Get that. I mean, have that. $26. It's not gonna hurt you. And then that's again. Remember, for those who might be saying, like for Lori, that it's hard to breathe, or not that it's hard to breathe, but it's hard to yawn when you do the exercise. Imagine what having a stronger lung capacity will do. This is the kind of stuff that makes your lung want to get bigger and bigger. It's going to have to force itself open and closed. So if you have issues with breathing, it's not that the breathing itself is the bad thing. It could be that your musculature, your diaphragm, is weakened because of Lyme, because of herpes simplex virus can infect the same nerves that are affected that control your diaphragm. Neck impingement can also make your diaphragm suffer. There's lots of things in that whole chain that can really mess up your diaphragm. And there's no way of getting it back other than to strengthen the diaphragm in your body. There's no other way. Okay, good. Charlene, awesome. I love it. Some action on that would be fantastic. This is one thing that, and like I said, tomorrow we'll go over more of like when to use it, how to use it, what specifically will that look like, right? Again, don't be on that life support and, good. Guys, everything that I learned about COVID in 2020 was that the folks who couldn't breathe, who were put on life support, who were put on a respirator, almost all died. So the folks who had to be on mechanical breathing died. So I'm sure as shit not letting that happen to me or anybody in my circle. So again, if you're in my crew, I want you to have a strong neck and a strong diaphragm. And there's not a lot else other than that. I mean, there's probably a few tiny little minor things, like tiny little stuff. But your neck and your ability to breathe support your oxygen and your vagus nerve. You'll be in a really good place if you can just do those two things. Strengthen your dang neck, strengthen your diaphragm. Trust me, these things are never looked at. How many people spend money on a six-pack ab device. My mom had, growing up, I don't know, I don't think my mom ever needed a six-pack abs or anything like that. But God, every month there'd be something on QVC. My mom would love, I love watching QVC with my mom because there'd be great products on there. But, you know, it'd be Lori Grenier, like, shilling some six-pack ab machine. Oh, this one's better than the last one. Or the ab crunch. It's like everybody is spending time trying to strengthen their freaking abs, and their necks are tiny, and their diaphragms are weak. I'm like, you guys are focusing on the wrong shit. Besides, you'll see almost no benefit from doing abs than you will from your neck versus your diaphragm. I mean, am I right? Yeah, exactly, Lori. You know, you saw that. A lot of friends died on respirators. When this stuff is failing, that's what gets you. You know, when your neck gets weak, that's gonna get you because your vagus nerve is gonna get crushed in that equation. And when your diaphragm goes, you're not breathing. You know, you are not gonna breathe if your diaphragm goes, and that's not good. That's it. That is it. You know, what do we know about food and intake? How many days can you survive without food? You can technically go 40 days without eating any food as long as you have water and air. How many days can you go without water, though? You can only go about 2 days of dehydration before you die. You can go maybe 5 or 10 minutes max without any oxygen to your brain before you're dead. Yet we focus a lot on food, a little bit on drinking enough water, and almost no time on breathing. Are you fucking kidding me? The thing that you'll die within 10 minutes of not having it, not breathing, yet we obsess so much about food and even a little bit about water. How many of you are drinking 32 ounces of water a day at least? Raise your hand. How many of you, be honest, are even drinking 32 ounces of water in a day? Probably very few of you. Maybe a lot of you. If so, then I have a good crowd here. But gosh, you know, most people drink like 16 ounces, 2 small cups of water a day. Yes, TK, good to see you. Hey, good. Awesome. I know you two are. I know you guys who did the 5-day challenge. I got that right in your head about the importance of drinking good water and exercise and sleep and nutrition. But yeah, I mean, gosh, you know, we spend so much time obsessing over the quality of our food. I mean, that's important, but you can go a long time without eating. You can't go very long without food, without drink, without water, and you can't go very long without oxygen. So again, in the spirit of today's video, that's what this is all about. There are tools that really are used by world-class athletes. Is it funny that if you're a world-class athlete, you use this device? But if you've been compromised, like people who have a stroke, guess what kind of stuff they use? They use this kind of stuff too, because their diaphragm gets weakened. So at all spectrums of really low health and really high health, breath training is always part of it. And what have we learned in the last decade is that things like meditation and drinking enough water and calming ourselves and stress reduction and reducing light before we go to bed and not watching TV all night, that all these things combined, those are really good habits for not only someone who's recovering, not only someone who's at a high level, but it's good for everyone. It's good across the board. So let's bridge that gap. Let's be that bridge between those who are in chronic states of unhealth and people who are at chronic states of too good health. People who are like professional bicyclists. Go to their website, AeroFit. I encourage you, just go to their website even. The link is in the description in the document for them. But go to their website and read some of the testimonials. You'll see how are people using something like this. Not only just because they want to run a marathon or they want to ride a bike or they want to be a great athlete, but also people are using it for recovery, for medicine, for all kinds of things. So anyway, I'm not going to try and oversell. You know, again, just trying to make sure it's all out there. But all right, so that will do it for us on the YouTube. Thanks, guys, on YouTube for watching today. If you like this video and you like the link, make sure you like, comment, subscribe on the video if you like this kind of content, and hopefully keep coming back for more. But we'll see you again tomorrow on YouTube. Thanks so much. See you later. Bye-bye. All right. Cool. All right.